Hello, and welcome back to another episode of It's Okay, Baby Girl. I think now we're on episode 6. And I'm not going to lie, guys, it took me a minute to come up with the topic for this episode. I think I was just very busy, and, I really need to stay in the flow, and I don't meditate. I think, as I mentioned in a previous episode, I don't do my daily routines and activities to keep myself balanced. I am not in the flow. And it is harder for me to come up with things to speak about and to produce because I'm not connected to myself in the way that I need to be. But this week I did come up with something because it just kind of hit me last minute. And this is something I touched upon in a little quick Instagram story from a long time ago, but I feel like it needs to be reiterated. It's talking about making your younger self proud. And I wanted to just expand on that in this episode because I feel like, especially growing up in brown households where we have very high standards because of our parents and our family members and everybody watching us, we tend to forget who we're doing all of this for. And at the end of the day, who is reaping the benefits and or the consequences of our actions. So, in this week's episode, we're just going to dive in. But let's get into it.
Qu'est-ce que je vais te nommer? Je vais te nommer l'amour, l'amour tendre, l'amour qui chante doucement dans mon cœur, l'amour sans logique à la raison.
So, I think whether you're brown or not, whether you grew up in a traditional household or not, whether you have immigrant parents or not, we all have some sort of exterior pressure from others that affects how we perform, how we perceive ourselves, and the standard we set for how we should live our lives. And to some extent, those standards keep us in check, keep us safe, and keep us morally upright. It's not necessarily a bad thing to have rules and regulations because that's how we conduct a safe and sane society in which we are all living harmoniously. But I'm not talking about the laws. I'm talking about people's spoken or unspoken expectations, whether they're made known or not. They exist and they're affecting you. And it can be very difficult at times to differentiate what you want and what other people want for you. And sometimes it might be the same thing, but I'm talking about what happens when you go against the grain and you choose something for yourself that others might not be the biggest fan of or might criticize. Because if you went with what other people wanted, there would be no resistance. But we're at a point in our lives where we're becoming independent adults, or you've been doing this adulting shit for a while, but there are some of us who still definitely struggle, I think majority of us actually, to make choices for ourselves without thinking about what other people think. And it can be so natural considering the type of world we live in where everybody is up in our business. I mean, social media shows a lot and people are always snooping around trying to find out what we're up to. So it's kind of hard what we're doing with our lives when people are all up in it already. But not only that, but in my experience growing up, grew up in a very brown community, Catholic community that was very, I don't know how to put this in a nice way, but nosy. And it's not because people care about you. It's because they just want to know what's up. And as a result, a lot of people have opinions and they will voice those opinions. And those opinions will get back to you. So trust me, if anyone understands this, it's me. And if you know, you know. I'm sure some of you listening are probably like, yep, I know exactly what she's talking about. But let me tell you, swallowing those opinions for the first time when you hear them are not easy. And they make you question whether or not you're doing the right thing or, because people have so many things to say about you. But eventually you realize you have two paths you can take. Either do what people want because it doesn't cause chaos or resistance or conflict, or do what you want knowing that some people are going to be upset but you're going to be happy. And we got to know how to make those distinctions, okay? So here's a couple questions I have for you to help differentiate whether or not you're doing the right thing and who is this really for. So first thing, Is what you're doing hurting yourself or someone else? In that case, if you answer yes, then just don't do it, because we're not about hurting ourselves or other people. If you're going to live your life in a non-harmful way, okay? Now, when it comes to hurting someone's feelings, you have to differentiate. Does this have anything to do with that person? Is it directed towards someone? And is that your intention? Because then you also have to check yourself. When you're doing something, is it really to harm someone again? Or is it you're just minding your own business and someone chooses to be offended? If someone is choosing to get butthurt or be upset about something you did that has nothing to do with them, that is not your responsibility to make unhappy people who are miserable with themselves feel happy with what you're doing, because I guarantee you nothing you do is ever going to bring them the fulfillment that they lack in their life. And it has nothing to do with them. Again, it wasn't directed towards them. You didn't try to hurt nobody. You're just minding your own business, living your best life. So, you got to focus on you, because you are here to fulfill your purpose. And nobody decides that but you. That's what I believe personally. You know what you're capable of. You know what you're drawn to. You know what you feel like you need to achieve on this earth. So do it. As far as we know, we got one life that we're consciously aware of, okay? If you believe in past lives, sure. But do you remember them? And do you know if you're going to get another one after this? And it will be in a different timeline, sorry. But as far as we know, we got one life. And are you really going to let other people tell you what to do for that entire life when you know what you got to be doing? I don't care how old you are. You could be a teenager, you could be a young adult, you could be in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. And I've seen people who are still afraid of what other people think, and that holds them back from the life they're supposed to live. Now, I'm not saying go get shit-faced and party and do drugs. Again, this is not about harming yourself or others. That's not the point that I'm trying to make here. The point I'm trying to make is that some of us make unconventional decisions in our lives that people might not understand or accept. But so long as you're not hurting someone, you're not hurting yourself, who gives a shit? Just do it. Because you know what brings you true fulfillment and happiness, okay? You know what that is. You have one life to live. And the only person you should think about making proud at the end of the day is yourself. If other people are proud of you, that's a bonus too. But do not rely on that for your worth and for your happiness, because it may never come. You might live your entire life and no one will ever give a shit about what you do. And they might have nothing good to say about anything you do. That should not stop you from living a life that makes you fulfilled. A life that brings you peace. And only you know what that is. Be brave. I'm telling you. If anybody understands this is me, I have made quite a few mistakes. I've made quite a few decisions. And a lot of people have a lot to say about what I've done in my life. And I know where I went wrong. And I know where I went right. And if you know that about yourself, that's all you gotta know. Do not let other people judge you for your past, your present, your future. Only you get to decide what that's gonna actually look like, unless you let other people's words and actions stop you, okay? You only get that one chance. You get today to make that choice. And I want you to really think about this. Who are you living for? And is it worth it? Is it bringing you peace? Is it bringing you happiness? Are you feeling fulfilled? If you're ever not doing something because of fear, that is no way to live. You're going to miss out on so much. I would rather fall on my face and make mistakes than never live and regret not doing things. And I'm not saying to go be irresponsible. I'm just saying things that you might find happiness in might not be everybody's cup of tea. You don't need to care about what they're doing. The only reason they're upset with what you're doing is because they haven't had that feeling for themselves. They let somebody else dictate their life, and now they're taking it out on you. So if you're worried about what the aunties are saying, what the uncles are saying, what your mommy and daddy are saying, take it with a grain of salt. They might have a point, they might have some wisdom that you might not know. But I think in this day and age, at this point in time, you should know yourself pretty well to know what works for you and what doesn't, and what you're okay with and what you're not okay with. And that's all that matters. Again, so long as it harms no one involved. All right? The reason so passionate about this topic is because majority of my life I was a people pleaser. I did anything and everything just for the sake of getting validation from others. And I think part of it is being the eldest child that kind of played into why I wanted to do that so bad. But also I think it's just the way we're raised. I mean, our parents either reward or punish our behavior. That's normal. That's how we raise children, right? But some children are more prone to that trait of wanting to please, and some are more rebellious. It's just how it be. But I started off as a people pleaser, doing literally everything just for the sake of validation and acceptance. Once I got to college, it was the complete opposite. I did everything that I wanted to do and more just to be that rebellious kid to prove a point that no one can control me, no one can tell me what to do. And I'm not saying that's healthy either, because it wasn't. And I did shit just for the sake of doing shit rather than because I wanted to do it. I just wanted to prove a point. So I'm trying to say that neither extreme is healthy, nor is it helpful. And for the past few years, I've now been evaluating my behavior and the changes that I've made within myself from the time I was a child to now. From being a people pleaser to not giving a shit about what anybody thinks and doing the exact opposite and being a little shit. Now I've kind of struck a balance where I will find where we can have the most peace, not where we're rocking the boat all the time to the point of, constant conflict and resentment, but not just appeasing others and feeling miserable within myself, because I cannot ever live a life now where I am not aligned with my purpose. And I know what that is. And just because other people might not understand that does not mean I should stop doing it, because that's just not their problem then. If they don't get it, they don't get it, and that's okay. That's totally fine. But I just wanted to say this because a lot of people have had opinions about my life choices over the past few years, whether it's, moving back home for school or becoming a professional dancer. That was a big one. A lot of people had a lot of opinions about that one. And even now, they still have shit to say. Or my career choices. I'm a nurse and I'm happy in my profession, but some people have had things to say about that. But the point I'm trying to make here is that if I let those same people who have nothing to do with me, let their opinions affect my life choices, I would never be where I am today. And I am so grateful for the person I have become and the choices I have made and the life I have built for myself. Now, I'm saying I didn't do it single-handedly. I had a lot of support from my family, my loved ones, my friends. But I made those choices, and I'm going to take credit for that because it's because of me. And I'm trying to say this because you are the one in charge of your life. It is in your hands. You may think it's in someone else's hands. It's just fear, honey. It's just fear controlling you. The moment you decide to block that shit out and make choices for yourself, you will realize how much control you had this entire time. And it is an empowering feeling to realize that. Don't let anybody ever take that from you. Now, don't be a dick. Be kind. Be considerate. Be very demure, whatever you want to call it. But live your life, shawty. All you got at the end of the day is you. You could lose everything. You could lose your parents. You could lose your siblings. You lose your partner. You could lose your children, your grandma, your grandpa. Everybody else is going to be gone eventually. You might be the first to go. Who knows? God forbid. But obviously this is very sad to talk about, but it is true. And you cannot live your life based on variables that you cannot control. These people might be gone one day. And then what do you have to live for? I guarantee you that's going to be a real hard adjustment if that's how you live based on other people's opinions of you. Because when they're gone, not if, but when they are gone, you're not going to know what to do with yourself. And then you're going to think back on all the life you could have lived if you just didn't care. And if you chose yourself. Not to be selfish, again, but I'm just saying that some things are really not that deep and you're just afraid. You have to be brave, man. Live your life. You cannot let other people stop you from finding your highest potential, reaching your apex. You cannot. That is such a waste of life, man. There is so much life for you to see, life to live, so much beauty to experience in the world. But if you're afraid of what people think of you, be my guest and miss out on everything. That's all I gotta say, because I used to think just like that. I was afraid of what people thought of me, so I stayed within my limits. And then I didn't care at all what people thought of me, so I did the exact opposite. And now I'm just trying to live my life. A life that does not harm others, that does not harm myself, but brings happiness and a general sense of fulfillment and joy. And I'm good with where I'm at. And if people are not good with that, then that's their problem. So long as I'm not hurting you, I don't really care what you think. and that's okay. But I'm so grateful that I chose myself. There was a moment, I think last year, that I realized that the only person I need to be making proud is little me. Because little me would see where I've come today and be shocked. Little me would not expect me to be a nurse, to be a professional dancer, to have a podcast, to have such amazing friends in my life, to have the confidence that we have today. Little me was a shy, scared little kid who never thought she would end up being anything. And where we are today is so far from what she thought. Another thing that I think about quite often is what I would think about the decisions I've made on my deathbed. Would I be looking back on my life and being proud of myself for the life I've chosen to live? Would I regret not making certain decisions? Would I regret certain actions I've taken in my life? That's the person I want to make proud, is me at the end of my life. Because you don't know when that could be. You don't know when your life could end. Could be today, could be 10 years from now, 50 years from now. Could all happen in a moment, and you don't know when that day is. So do not wait to live the life you want to live. Do not wait a moment, because you don't know how many moments you got left, girl. The best decision I have ever made for myself is to stop caring about what other people think about me, because it does not define you, especially those people who have nothing to do with you or your life. Even your family, man, they'll have a lot of things to say, and that's okay. They're entitled to their opinion, and I'm sure they feel their ways for a certain reason. But you know you better than anyone knows you. So don't let what other people tell you dictate how you're gonna live your life. Because it's not their life to live, it's yours. And I guarantee you, once you start thinking with the mindset of, would little me and deathbed me be proud of this? You will make a lot better decisions. You will avoid things that you're going to regret, and you will take those leaps of faith and make those risks that lead to the most beautiful life. And I don't want you to miss out on that, because I have tasted the freedom. And I know what it feels like to live authentically and be happy with the decisions I've made, and to let those opinions flow in one ear and out the other. It doesn't matter. The sky did not fall because people were upset with me or disagreed with me. They just went on living their miserable ass lives, and I lived my best life. And that's all I know. So, with that being said, don't ever let that shit stop you from living your life. Okay? Make little you proud. And I guarantee you that little kid within you is probably already so proud of how far you've come. So keep making that little kid proud. Don't ever stop, okay? Because the only person at the end of the day that's guaranteed to be in your life is you. You're only stuck with you. I really want you to digest that for a moment. You are only stuck with you. Even your kids one day, man, they're going to be gone. They're going to go live their own lives. You are stuck with you. So what are you going to do about it? Okay, so that brings us to the end of episode 6. If you found this episode to be helpful, feel free to share, pass it on to someone you think might benefit from this episode as well. I know a lot of this, especially in our brown communities where everybody's talking, be struggling with the rumors and the crap that people say about us. So if you know someone who could use a little extra boost of encouragement right now, go ahead and share it with them. And if you'd like to know more about our podcast and what's coming next, please follow us on It's Okay Baby Girl at Instagram and on TikTok. That's where I do most of the content creation. The podcast is weekly on Thursdays, usually Thursday mornings. And I'll post more quotes and little videos, updates about life and things of the sorts on Instagram and TikTok. If you'd like to leave any feedback, feel free to leave it in the comments. You can also DM me on Instagram, and I'm more than happy to receive feedback and commentary as well as questions, and I can answer to the best of my ability. If you have any ideas for future episodes, things that you'd like for me to talk about, also please let me know on Instagram. That really helps me help you. So, with that being said, just know that it's okay, baby girl. You're going to be fine. You got to live your best life authentically, freely, and beautifully. And I wish you the best. Until next time, goodbye.